Making a grand entrance.
I'm here waiting that was están oficina
Purple tie, sir.
It was one of those pop-ups.
Good, good. Where?
Right there.
Here?
Que no estás campaigning.
We have nuts first and a candy later. I'll have your
Oh, yeah? Good.
Over here, the best, brother.
Over there.
JJ. Way over.
Perlita. Perlita.
I did not bring a pen, no. So this is the only thing. It's just the joint meeting for the loans, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Heck yes. Make us good. They make us.
Let's do this.
Come on Zoom.
How's Dan doing?
He's good. How's living all the children? Huh?
That's
You
what
guys
you
get a
got.
considerable, many more people than your meetings.
Done it all, Louis.
Y'all have considerably many more people than your meetings than we get. If the water works,
Go ahead.
the shit rolls downhill.
They go like this and it
Yeah.
goes. They go like
Then
this and
when
it
you're-
comes out. That's it, baby.
No, I hate
You hear a lot less complaints, as you know.
Yep.
You serve both, brother.
Kind of like it that way.
Well, I don't hate him that much.
Believe me.
How's it going, brother?
There's a dog in my street. What you gonna
All right,
do
I can
about
check
it? Oh my God! Now I'm a dog catcher.
What's that?
Now I'm a dog catcher.
This
Oh,
lady
there he is.
got an alarm. Somebody's alarm that kept going Yeah, I had to go up to police and everything, and I did for the first 2 times. After that, I was like,
It took the JP Cord, right? JP Cord will probably.
oh, that's all right. I get it. I get it. Come on, man. I'm better than that guy.
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, Commissioner.
Doing that, brother. How you doing, Mr.
Opportunity for city staff to present detailed information and updates to the city commission in preparation for future action or decisions. No formal votes are taken during workshops. They serve as an important step in the city's policy-making process.
First, yes, please, Mayor.
Okay, welcome everybody to today's City Commission meeting. Actually, it's a joint meeting with PUB, so we'll call this meeting to order.
I call it a public utility meeting to order. We have a quorum also.
Excellent. The first thing we have is the award contract for the investment advisory services.
Mayor, this item was presented to the Audit Committee. Interviews with the applicants. Sonia and Maria here to make a presentation based on the interviews and a recommendation from the committee.
Good afternoon. The City of McAllen conducted a solicitation for investment advisory services in July of 2025, and the evaluation committee evaluated and tabulated the submittals based on specific criteria. The Treasury Management and Finance Departments request authorization to award a contract for investment advisory services to the highest ranked respondent for a period to commence October 14th, 2025, and then 3 years thereafter. If awarded, staff is requesting authorization with the city manager and/or general manager approval to exercise the option to extend the contract for 2 additional 1-year periods, subject to satisfactory performance of the successful respondent. In addition, we respectfully request authorization to terminate such contracts with city manager or general manager approval if the awarded respondent fails to meet or perform under the terms and conditions of their contract. The results of the solicitation were presented to the Audit and Investment Committee for review and recommended approval on September 25th, 2025, and the committee recommends approval of the award of a 3-year contract for investment advisory services to Valley View Consulting LLC commencing October 14th, 2025, and providing for 2 additional 1-year extension renewals upon agreement of both parties. The annual fee will be calculated using a 0.02% fee or 2 basis points on the average quarterly book value of the portfolio, with the fiscal year maximum of $75,000. So it'll never go over 75.
Mayor, Commissioners, the RFP generated 4 responses. They were all highly, highly competitive, very, very small differences between the firms. Because of that, we brought all four firms in for live interviews with the Audit and Investment Committee. There was a very robust conversation with each of the firms, and it was a very difficult decision. We were very, very pleased with the response we received. After listening to the presentations, thinking through the trends and practices of the city with respect to how we invest our money, we did decide as a committee that Valley View was the outstanding firm, and we do recommend award of contract to Valley View. I would mention briefly that they have done work for the city in the past, and their work was very good.
Questions?
Could you refresh my memory? Who was the incumbent?
Meter, and they did not
that's right.
bid.
They did not bid. Okay, very good.
That we have 4 very good qualified entities, I guess.
We gave each firm 30 minutes, and we took our 30 minutes with each firm.
And more.
And more. So we were very satisfied with all 4, but we made a decision that we needed to make, and it's going to be good for us, but we didn't take it lightly at all.
On behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I'll make a motion to award the investment advisory services to Valley View.
A motion on behalf of the PUB.
Second.
Second for PUB.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries for the city.
Thank you.
Williams, the PUB needs to take a vote.
Yeah, I think we had a motion and a second by the mayor for the PUB. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries. And I might add also what Commissioner Ogeta said. We were very pleased on the audit committee that it was so highly competitive, and we really appreciate those that did make a bid for the city advisory.
Yeah, it was great. Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Take 2, 3, and 4 together.
Yeah, Mayor, I was going to suggest that. We do have Ann Berger here to field questions. Mark Vega, on behalf of the Public Utility Board, will be presenting. We have 3 resolutions for the City Commission and Public Utility Board to consider with respect to funding and financing needed for the water desalinization project that we've been talking about for the last year. And so with that very brief lead-in, I'll turn the presentation over to Mark Vega.
Yes, Mayor, City Commissioners, Vice Chairman, Public Utility Board members, thank you for having us. Items 2 and 3 are both resolutions that request the authorization from City Commission for 4 and 5, which are ordinances, to approve those resolutions. And item 2, we'll just take that quickly. That is the first of 5 closings. This is $30 million. I would say that about 90% of that $30 million goes to fund the actual production wells for this project. So those are the permanent production wells. About 10% of that goes for design. So this first closing of $30 million is to construct these deep and shallow wells, a total of about 8 wells, 4 deep, 4 shallow. And I just learned from our financial advisor, the fantastic news that we closed on this that the interest cost is already closed at 3.8%, which is fantastic. To leverage that subsidy from the Texas Water Development Board's AAA rating is a huge plus for us. So 3.8% on the first closing of the $30 million is fantastic. We plan on bidding the production wells out next spring of 2026. And again, this is about a 4 to 5 year project. But that true interest cost of 3.82% is very, very good news. So, again, this is item 2, which goes to the $30 million closing. This is for the production wells, a small portion is for design. And I'll field any questions having to do with this item 2, for the $30 million closing. Item 3 is a much different item. That's to purchase water rights from Hidalgo County Irrigation District Number 1. That's 1,333 acre feet of water rights. It's not a take-or-pay contract, so we're not obligated to take any water. But now we have 2 districts feeding our North Water Plant, and that would be United Irrigation District as well as Irrigation District Number 1. So we do have redundancy on the water source side, and we will supplement that through groundwater desalination project, reverse osmosis desalination. So we're excited, commissioners, board members, to share that news, especially with the true interest cost that we just received recently. So I'll field any questions, or as our city manager said, our financial advisor is here, Ms. Ann Berger-Entricken, if there's any specific questions as to the financing or closing or et cetera.
Is the state going to be picking up any of that interest cost at all, the 3.82, or will that be completely our responsibility?
That's our responsibility, but that was with a 1.4 to 140 basis point subsidy from the Water Development Board, utilizing their borrowing from the Water Development Board. Ann? And you want to come in? There's a microphone right here. That way they can.
Thank you for the opportunity to join you this evening. So the Water Development Board, this is part of their SWIRFT program, the State Water Implementation Revenue Fund for Texas, and it is to fund projects that will increase water supply for the state of Texas. The specific subsidy that the McAllen is going to get is a 14% subsidy. So the Water Development Board issued their bonds, and they had an interest rate of about 4.45, 4.44. So they take a 14% subsidy off of that. So the 3.82% interest rate that you have does have that 14% interest reduction.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is really a historic opportunity for the city of McAllen. This is a gigantic step in providing water security for this community into the foreseeable future. I know, Mayor, you spent a lot of time in Austin this legislative session working with our delegation to secure the legislation that made these funds, this funding mechanism available. I know Mark went and testified this session. This came at a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, kind of elbow grease work from this board. And so for us to be able to present this to you and recommend that you adopt the resolutions and ordinances allowing for the bonds to begin this really historic project is an important step. With respect to items 3 and 5, and acquiring those water rights, again, that is another important step to securing water independence for the city of McAllen and making sure that we maintain our position as a key supplier in this region. So if there aren't any other questions, Mayor, I recommend that you entertain a motion to approve all 4 items.
On behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I make a motion to adopt the resolution as set forth in items 2 and 3.
Sorry, for clarification purposes, we will need the PUB to make an action on 2 and 3.
Oh, my apologies.
And then after the PUB takes action,
2 and 3 is PUB, so I guess I'll move to.
I'll second that.
Aye.
Both side motion carries.
One of the things we failed to say is how important it is, not just for McAllen, but for the rest of the community. City of McAllen will be able to assess.
It's a good point.
It's us, really, when we were out there talking to
Regional
the
nature.
so it's very important. So, I need a motion to approve for the city. Items
4 and 5, Mayor.
4 and 5.
4 and 5, so moved.
In favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank
The
you.
PUB took a vote, so thank you all very much.
Executive session.
Mayor, if you want to move on to the items on the workshop, if there are questions for staff, we'd be happy to entertain any of those
PUB?
after the PUB adjourns.
Did we get our PUB on all of it?
Yes.
We did, okay.
Thank you, Mark.
We'll continue to our public meeting. Any questions regarding today's meeting? Any questions, staff? No? Then we'll go into number 2.
Mayor, we have representatives from McAllen Economic Development Corporation here, along with representatives from AEP. They brought you a presentation on the important need for the development of the electric grid and electric infrastructure here in the valley. And so while they get that set up, are y'all ready to go? While they get set up to make that presentation, I just want to recognize Roy Cantu, who's sitting in the gallery, officially retired from the city of McAllen after 24 short years with this organization. We have not changed the intro to our meetings yet, and I'm glad, Roy, you were here to hear that. He did move far away. He's not completely retired. He took a weekend off and went around the corner and is now working at the Chamber and MEDC as their media relations director. So, Roy, thanks for everything you've done for the city of McAllen. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Roy.
Ay, no lo chifles, he's got a lot of work and not the same budget.
Sometimes less is more.
There you go.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Afternoon.
My name is Daniel Lucio. I'm the External Affairs Manager for ADJOURNMENT. Thank you for this opportunity to be here with you guys today. Over some of these, the customer growth, kind of go over what we're dealing with in terms of growth. We're also going to cover some of the concerns that were raised from the opposition during the city council meeting we had with our buddy Owen's substation. So we're going to cover substation safety and health. Property values was another issue that was brought up. We're going to also discuss site selection and how, in that process and how that works, and as well as reliability, resiliency, and critical loads, right? This here, who's going to be going over the economic development portion of our presentation. So with that, Rick, you want to start with slide one?
Hello. Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Rick Garcia. I'm a planning engineer with AP Texas. So I just want to let you know, AP Texas has seen a significant amount of load growth throughout, not just throughout the valley, but throughout the Corpus District, Laredo Districts, San Angelo, and Abilene. For the past 3 years, we've seen estimated 35 years of growth due to the impact of new technologies, industrial growth all throughout the area. So with this, the Rio Grande Valley leads the AP Texas footprint with the current customer growth in the area. There's a lot of growth, as you've seen, throughout the valley from Roma to the island, and it's not slowing down. So we are trying to keep up with the amount of work and customer growth that's coming in. As you can see also, 20% of our customers are in the city of McAllen. We have about 62,000 customers. Those customers, one customer is pretty much a meter or a service to us. So as you can see, an average home has about 4 people living in there, and it's just, it's a lot, really hard to keep up with that. So with that, the 62,000 customer types, 52,000 are residential, 9,000 are commercial, 600 are industrial, and 235 are public authorities, such as fire, emergencies, things like that. So from 2021 to 2024, as I said, for the last 3 years, the RGV has seen 300 megawatts of growth, and the 2 gigawatts of growth is from transmission load that's coming into the area with data centers, things like that with DERs. Next.
I would like to add that we currently have 5 substations in the city of McAllen, and we are planning for 5 more within the next 5 years. Just to give you an idea of how fast the city's growing.
Next slide.
Next one.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Keithley. I'm a Protection and Control Supervisor with Transmission with AEP, and I'm going to talk a little bit about substation safety and health, because due to some of the concerns from the August 11th meeting here. I think since I'm going to talk about substation safety and health, a little bit of my background. I've been in the high voltage electrical power industry for 34 years. 12 of those years were at power plants generation, and then the last 22 have been with AEP at transmission and, serving distribution customers. So let me get started here. And by the way, when my job duties for the past 22 years with AEP for the Valley has, whenever there's a big outage in the Valley, I'm usually the one involved in it, in trying to restore the customers and getting them back as safely as possible, safety to the customers and safety to our employees. So that's what's considered. And also, we don't want to damage the equipment where the outage will take longer. So those are some of the considerations. If you're wondering when we're having these outages, what's being considered, that's what's behind the scenes. So, some of these concerns we had, and you can see them up there. So the substations are built to comply with rigorous national and international safety standards like the National Electric Safety Code and the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, which is known as IEEE. The stations also comply with rigorous national and international safety standards, ensuring that the substations can withstand operational and environmental conditions. And sorry, I need my readers to see this. Substations are equipped with advanced protection systems such as circuit breakers, surge arresters, grounding systems, and fire detection systems. So one thing I'd like to mention on that bullet is that fires and explosions are extremely rare at these substations. It's just rare, and I've been involved, with all the outages, and it's not that common. So I think that was one of the concerns from August 11th. Bullet 3 is high security fencing prevents unauthorized access and keeps the general public at a safe distance from high voltage equipment. So that's the main concern with the substations is I don't want somebody getting too close. Not concerned about noise, and I'll talk about that more in a minute, or EMF. I'm more concerned about minimum approach distance. We don't want the public getting too close, but that's why we have a fence, and that keeps that safe. So again, like I mentioned about the fences, signs are also installed on the substation fence toward to warn the public of potential hazards. So we definitely have a lot of signage on the stations, letting people know, it's not safe basically for anybody who's not qualified to go in there. So bullet number 4, substations undergo routine maintenance and inspections to identify and address potential issues proactively. So some of my direct reports, they're assigned, and some of my direct reports in the past, I've jumped a little bit different departments, and I had Corpus Christi for a little bit, but for AEP, but there's an assigned position in which that employee goes to a station on a regular basis and inspects the station. So my point being is if there was something occurring that was possibly, an issue, it'll get caught. So we don't just leave the substations, unmanned for months and years. We have somebody go inspect, and he has a routine. He has to check on many things. So as far as in regards to safety, they're being inspected. We don't have anything brewing out there. That was slide number 4. If we can go to slide number 5. It's still on substation safety. And I'll get to the noise part. Okay, so this is where we get into some of the concerns about EMF, electromagnetic fields. We also have electrical fields. And electrical fields, you can have electrical fields if there's no current flowing, and you have electromagnetic fields when we do have current flowing. And obviously at the stations we have current flowing. We're pushing out megawatts to the customers, so we do have EMF. But now let's talk about, is it safe or not safe? So magnetic fields outside a substation are very low, usually the same as what is already in your home from wiring and appliances. These levels are hundreds of times lower than the international safety limits, which is ICNIRP /IEEE again. So if you're not aware of it, you have EMF in your homes already. You turn your oven on, you're probably going to get up to 1,000 milligauss, which is what units we measure EMF in. We measure EMF in milligauss and also microteslas, but the more common is milligauss. You're going to have like 1,000 milligauss if you're standing next to your oven in your home, okay? And, we're down at the station. We just did a study of 5 stations in the McAllen area, and we had, I think, the highest we saw, and we can send that file if we need to later, right, Danny? It shows all the measurement points that we took measurements for milligauss and noise, for EMF and noise, actual sound. And I think the highest one we had, we detected was like maybe 40 milligauss. And again, these, with EMF and with noise, obviously with noise, everybody knows that, but with EMF, the further you get away, it depletes the level. So I'll talk about noise in a minute on the last bullet, but on EMF, the further you get away, the EMF drops dramatically. So, we usually, I think this Buddy Owen station that we're here talking about, I think the closest customer is like 100 and something feet.
150 feet.
150 feet. So we're, the milligauss, the EMF effect at that range is going to be minimal. You're looking at somebody who's been up and close and personal with a generator, which is a source for this high voltage. And I've been doing it for 34 years, and I've probably been exposed to probably 20,000 milligauss. And it's no effect. So let's go to the next one. Bullet 6, substations are safe neighbors, and the fear they cause cancer is not supported by evidence. I could go into a bunch of studies here, but I'm not. There's a lot of studies out there. You can look into it. There's no evidence. That statement right there, yeah, not supported by evidence. Where's the evidence of the EMF, of the cancer? I challenge anybody to research it and let me know about the person you find that died from EMF exposure from high voltage power lines. I don't think you're going to find anybody.
I hate to interrupt you at that point.
Yeah.
Are there any articles written for the converse where there's been studies already performed? Or
There's studies both ways.
just depends on what side of the fence you're on?
But where's there's studies both ways. You can just, go on Google and look for that.
I'm talking like a scholarly, published,
Yes.
recognized
No, there
article?
is. Yes. Canada's utility system did a big study on it. And they, somebody's child's on the, anyways, they did a big study on it. Canada, there's one out there. It was actual, scientists, and there was nothing to it. Just like it says in that statement, the cause of cancer is not supported by evidence.
I'm not going to argue with you,
Yeah.
but that's a conclusionary statement, the way I read it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to read maybe after the meeting.
Okay.
With you to maybe get some science.
That's fine. That's fine, sir.
And I can't see who's talking completely, but if you guys can hear me okay, this is something that AEP invests a lot of time into, looking up and trying to understand. So we can share some research with you from like the World Health Organization, the National Cancer Institute. There's a number of articles that are out there that one are independent, and then we've also helped study a lot of these through our involvement with the U.S. Department of Energy. So one of those items was a $45 million EMF research and public information dissemination program. That one also concluded scientific evidence suggesting that EMF exposure pose any health risk is weak. And then, of course, AEP is a member of the Electric Power Research Institute as well, that coordinates laboratorial, epidemiological, and exposure studies. So there's a number of those that we can share with you and point you in the direction. Again, looking for independent pieces of this, because AEP is a company that values not only the safety of the communities that we're in and the customers that we serve, right? It's probably it's the biggest pillar that we have, but certainly even our employees that are going in there to service them. So happy to turn in those surveys. We can get you links to all those kind of off the record, but there are a number of studies we can provide to you and some links there as well.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Yes,
Nick. Thanks, Nick, on that. And like I said, a comparison, we did the study recently, just a few weeks ago here in the McAllen area on substations that are in service. And like I mentioned, 40 milligauss was the highest we read. And, really, like I said, I've probably been exposed to 20,000 milligauss. And, 200's where we start, getting a little bit, not concerned, but just, we pay attention. And we were well below that. We're below, like it mentioned, below what you're going to encounter in your home already. So, okay. And the last bullet, and this is more on the noise. Electrical substations are designed to operate within specific noise level regulations, 55 to 65 dB. A study conducted by IEEE found the average noise level from substations is often below 60 dB, which is comparable to the sound of a normal conversation. So not much higher. You're not going to get much higher than we are in here talking right now. When do we start wearing, noise protection on our ears? 85 dB. So we're well below that. So and also if we're able to share that study we did last week, we had the gentleman come from our home office, and he measured for EMF and for noise. And I think the highest we had was what it said right there, 55 to 65. And sometimes, most of the time, that noise is coming from the traffic around the substation. So not really from within the substation. But anyways, that was my last slide. Does anybody have any more questions for me or anything?
Yes. Where was the last AEP substation?
Last, in reference to McAllen.
You said there was 5.
Yeah.
Existing.
Currently have 5.
Currently have 5, and then you are possibly proposing another 5. Now, how many does Magic Valley have?
They have a substantial lower amount than we do. I mean, we feed them, yeah.
Where was the last AEP substation built?
The one I could comes to mind right away is the James Road, right there on the corner of Ware Road and Pecan. It's kind of behind the McDonald's there. Yeah, that was I would say that's one of our last ones.
Ware Road and Pecan.
Yes, sir.
I think originally you were looking at putting it on Ware Road in
Yes.
Quince, right?
Yes, sir.
On that northeast corner, and then you relocated to the
Yes,
other.
sir. That would have been a lot easier, better for us, but yeah.
Ware Road and Pecan.
Behind the McDonald's,
Where
there's
the
some restaurants.
STC overflow lot in the back.
How much, was there any residential around there at the time that you built it? Commercial, right? Right. Okay. There's a difference between an existing substation and people choosing to live in a residential subdivision that was built after there was a substation that existed. So those people that decided to buy in that residential subdivision chose knowing that there was a substation there. And and this is why I'm asking the questions. And I understand that this last one on Ware Road, there was a subdivision that existed, and another one was relatively close by. And that was the opposition on this. So if there is a need, we definitely need more substations. Okay? We definitely do. And building a substation is not a non-common occurrence all over the country, right? Because there's substations being built everywhere in our community and any community because of the need of the growth of power. We definitely do not want to infringe or do things that can hurt us from that, okay? Because we need power, and we need a lot of industrial power, okay? So, when you analyze where you want to put a substation, okay, obviously you all have your criteria of where you need it, just like when the PUB builds an elevated storage tank. It doesn't build it where there's not a need. And there's an elevated storage tank. So you all, look at where your needs are. So the cost of your land, you look at where you can connect it close to the power lines. That has to be a reason or a reason or rationale that you use, and possibly whatever your costs are, and your cost of getting it from one place to another. So, if there is possibly a commercial area, okay, within your scope of where you think you need, or the area that you might need to put a substation, then we'd love to entertain trying to, make it easier for you all and for us to have a substation. But, if we continue to try to look at areas that there might be conflicts, either from ourselves or from our residents or from whatever, I mean, we're going to have these discussions. And like I said, I know that this commission does not want to make it any harder to get electrical power into our area, because we need it. So how can we do something? What can we participate in that makes sense?
Mr. Aguirre, you had some of those points were correct that you made, but I think first and foremost, what Mr. Garcia here looks at is, as far as the criteria you mentioned, we look at serving the customers. where's the most need for the customers. So we're thinking about the customers and keeping them powered up, right, Rick?
Yes. We're going to answer all those questions that you just had on the slides. Yes. No. They're gonna. We have provided a lot of information.
Okay, good evening, and thank you for having us here this evening. My name is Joey Maldonado. I work for AP Texas Real Estate Division. And Mr. Aguirre, we're going to cover the where we start with the property. We're in close with Rick Garcia here. Initially, the project doesn't start as I buy the land, I purchase the land. So when Rick called me and told me, hey, we got this new project called Buddy Owens Substation, and we get on a call, we get on a Zoom meeting, and we start discussing the area. So the area that we were looking at was on Buddy Owens and North Bernston, in that area. And what I started looking at is 3 acres, because the minimum is 3 acres to 5 acres is a max. Well, there wasn't that many properties available, so there were 3 that I looked at. One being right on Ware Road, and that was listed by a broker. I initially approached her, talked to her on the phone, and let her know what our intentions were. And I asked her, I said, do you think that we're going to have some kind of opposition if we put a substation on Ware Road? And her response was, I think you would, but I think I can help you, get around that. So that's not a risk we're willing to take with the money that we were spending. The other property that we're looking at was on Buddy Owens and Sherry Road. It was a 16-acre tract, but at the time when I talked to the broker, they were not wanting to break up the property. And he also went on and tell me that Whataburger had tried to purchase an acre and a half there, and they were denied. This is on Palmhurst. We're still looking at that property. Okay. Buddy Owens, a subject property. That one is off the road. There is a access road that leads to the back of the commercial property that's there in the front. And what we try to do is, as you mentioned, we try to purchase the property underneath our transmission line facilities so we can connect to it. And we also look at the zoning, what they're zoned at. And of the 3, 2 were zoned C1, and the one that I purchased was zoned C4, which is commercial and industrial. And I did go talk to the zoning board prior to us purchasing the property, and just to get an idea of what was their thought. And we shouldn't have any problems. So, and of course, they passed it, they approved it. And right now we're in the process of looking at other properties in the area. And as I mentioned, there's only a certain range where I can be according to planning. And the other properties I'm looking at are C1. So I don't know what kind of impact that's going to have on real estate as far as trying to get that zoning that we need. So that's the challenges that we have when it comes to that.
Buddy Owens and
North Bernston.
Benson
sir.
on the southwest corner.
Yeah, so it's on the corner of North Bernston and Buddy Owens. There's like a commercial property there.
Benson, you're talking Benson, right?
It's Benson.
Is it Benson?
It is Benson.
Okay, so that's the one we're talking.
BENTSEN.
Oh, Benson. Yeah, I'm sorry. I said it's
No
Bernston.
problem.
Yeah. So out of the 3, we're like, okay, well, this is going to be the last impact.
And I didn't hear you say it, but cost is a difference of land.
Right.
So, again, I think we were looking to trying to make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and what's needed, one of the things that's needed is electrical power.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Our residents demand it, and our growth industrially and commercially also demand it. I'd rather us look at those type of alternatives kinds of people disrupting their livelihood and their living.
Totally understand.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
So I think what I'm saying is that, yeah, you just have to keep looking at 3 or 4, whatever, and us and city management staff and see what.
I can tell you that we're very,
We're here
Yeah.
to make things happen.
we're very considerate of that, but when you're given a certain range or radius, and when there's limited properties, you just go with the one that you think is going to be okay, right? And in this case, I mean, there were other properties that were like 1 acre, 2 acre tracts, and but those were not going to work for us. And I think Rick can talk about the.
So you're correct. I perform studies with the areas that are affected. We have 2 substations in the areas. We have North McAllen, which is on 23rd and Buddy Owens, and we have Palmhurst, which is just to the west in the city of Palmhurst or city of Mission. I'm not too sure. The most affected substations right now is North McAllen. That substation is loaded to approximately 97% of its capability. So once it hits over 100, that's when we're having issues. So that's why I gave to Joey the locations of where would be good to offload and create better reliability for our customers in case due to equipment failure. And these properties have to be within, I don't want to say they have to be, but it's better for the environment, better for other property owners if they're underneath the transmission line. If they're not, we have to extend that transmission line to get to that location, which we would have to go through other property owners, getting easements, things like that. And that's a little hard to find, as well as Joey just said. Look, trying to find commercial development rather than residential. As you know, on the outskirts, it gets a little bit more residential than it does commercial. So that's the reason why we kind of chose this general area, as well as finding a willing landowner.
Substations that you currently have right now, are you expanding within that perimeter that you have that property?
No.
You can't build any more in there within that substation. I think it was 23rd or perhaps the one, but they're making more, they're adding to it.
So that one is a transmission battery. It's a 100 or 200 megawatt transmission battery that's going to feed back into our transmission grid. So that is a customer-owned equipment.
What about the one on Trenton and 23rd?
Trenton.
Northwest corner. Is that AEP?
Not ours.
Not yours? Okay.
No.
They're by the Burger King.
Possibly about Magic Valves.
Okay.
I'm not too sure.
All right.
So we do look to expanding substations. The problem is getting to the new load that's coming in. It's once the load is further away from the substations, we want to deliver good voltage, and that's the problem. The further away it gets, the voltage drops. So that's why placing the substation in strategic areas will allow for better voltage for our residential, commercial, industrial customers.
In determining the sites, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like AEP is reactive to the energy demand, and it's not proactive in identifying future sites, like back in the 60s and 70s when that first transmission was probably built on 23rd and Buddy Owens. AEP wasn't thinking we'll build it every mile out or every three-quarters of a mile on Buddy Owens. Well, back then it was 3 mile line, right, to go west, right? Because it goes back to Commissioner Aguirre's argument. I mean, who's to have known that Hidalgo County in the year 2025 would have almost 1 million people back in 1950? Right? Back in 1950, all of Hidalgo County was probably less than 100,000 people, right? So, but there's something to be said to be proactive. And I understand this demand that you're saying happened in the last 3 years where you had the, I don't know, whatever percentage growth you had. It's kind of hard to forecast, right? I imagine, right?
Commissioner, you're absolutely right on what you're saying. And I think that's the economic development perspective, because this is one issue. The grid access is the #1 infrastructure need that we have in our community right now. As you speak to industry and you speak to Main Street, this is the biggest challenge that we're facing. Currently, ERCOT has approved a plan for a 345 kilovolt extension for a line to McAllen. It's going to continue to grow capacity for us, but there's a 765 line, which is super highway of transmission projects that ends in Corpus. That's a big deal for us. It doesn't come all the way to South Texas or to McAllen. For us, the conversation is, why are we not at the table as a city, as the Rio Grande Valley, advocating? There's a regional transmission plan that ERCOT decides upon annually, and then that goes to the Public Utility Commission for implementation, for public comment, for public input. And that's where we have an opportunity to really stay in front of these projects so that we're also not just talking about today's demand, which this substation speaks to only, but speaking about what the expanding need is. Our hands are so tied if all we have in the works is the 345 line. That 765 line is essential to building the community that you all have tasked us with attracting in terms of industry and even just on the small business side. And why are we not part of that bigger state plan? For us, that's really what we're here to support, not just this substation project, but these are tough conversations. We shouldn't be waiting to this last minute to get the project approved, to be talking to residents. We need to stay in front of it. We need to be part of a plan, and we need to be networked at that state level. That's what we're trying to do on the MEDC side to support these type of projects, but they're essential to us continuing to not just support the current business community, but to expand and into those industries that you've asked us to try to attract. Our hands are completely tied. When you look at what the state goals are for economic development, their number one goal is to continue to attract data centers. 15 data centers are in the works at the national level, and the state will land at least 5 of those opportunities. There is no way that South Texas can support that type of infrastructure because we don't have the grid access. The second industry that is at an all-time demand is semiconductors. And you see the bigger communities like Houston attracting those, but you see small rural communities near Austin attracting some of that semiconducting business. That is a game changer for communities like ours, but we don't have the grid access that we need to support that type of a demand. We just heard Lilly on the healthcare side expand their network into Houston. We don't have the infrastructure, and it is really frustrating not to be able to go to the table and be competitive with some of these industries, because the Valley is the fastest growing area. We're the youngest community with the maximum potential for growing a workforce to sustain these types of investments long term. Without this infrastructure, we're very limited with what we can do. And so we've got a small video if there's time for it.
Yeah.
I think it's real important that you hear from the developers themselves. This year, without Ike and Ralph at the table helping, we had the Boteo family who was about to cut the ribbon on their big produce plant expansion, and they couldn't because there was no grid access. We had to, at the last minute, rally to support them to get some skid access. That's temporary. Those are temporary fixes. And this is just starting. And so they're at 90% capacity on this substation. That doesn't even speak to the other demands that we have in this area. Mr. Spammer as well has been very vocal about the demand for us to really stay in front of these conversations. So if I may share the video, we'll do that.
Yeah,
And
please.
I don't know if there's anything else that AEP wants to add.
I believe there's one more slide or 2 more slides.
Based on the area, we were being proactive. I've had this plan for about 5 years already. I knew I wanted to get this in a timely manner. We already have the equipment. The reason why takes 4 or 5 years is due to long lead items such as these big transformer banks. So that does take time, as well as acquiring the property. And the equipment's in. We're ready to go. We'll build it in 7 months. The problem is we need to get through the peak seasons, and that area of that location with North McAllen on 23rd and Buddy Owens and the Palmhurst substation is really critical for the next 2 years. So we really need to try and resolve a temporary issue as far as rolling in a temporary skid station into that property so we can provide some ease and provide better reliability electricity to our customers.
And just so you know, that 345 line is under construction, will be completed by the end of 2026. That 765 line has already been incorporated into a plan that's approved and funded, and that process is starting soon with construction. It's a 5-year process. By 2030, that program will be complete. We're not included anywhere into that project. And so it's about a 5-year process from the time that you initiate inclusion into a plan for us to do that. We would pass a resolution from the City Commission requesting that ERCOT includes us in a southern study for expansion of the 765 line. In order to do that, we need white papers funded so that we can talk about the demand and the options for where and how. And so I think that's an important part of the conversation today.
Yeah, I know you want to play your video. From the city manager's office, Liz has been very active on the power front. These issues came to my office about a year ago. We've worked hard over the last year to develop a vocabulary and a message. I know I've spent a lot of time with the trade zone and Mark and his team talking through the challenges and what we need to do as a city to set us up to continue down the economic growth path that we're on. There's going to be some tremendous messaging coming out of the city tomorrow with opportunity, and we want to make sure that we are prepared to meet the needs of those very exciting challenges. To Mr. Lucio and all of the folks here from AEP. It's a difficult conversation. There are things that people want in their backyard, swimming pools, and there are other things that people don't want in their backyard. And this conversation was something I asked them to come have with you so that we could better understand how safe these substations are and how important their need is for a growing community. And so it's a very difficult conversation. It's a conversation that I wanted to have very openly so that the community could hear it. And I really appreciate you guys coming and making this presentation today. And Liz, to MEDC, and Mark, to the Trade Zone, I want to thank you guys for really taking the lead in advocating at the state level for what McAllen and the Rio Grande Valley's needs are if we are going to be the economic development leaders that we know we can be. You want to play your video?
Can we play that video? McAllen is growing faster than ever. Families and businesses are choosing our city for our affordable and high quality of life, our strategic location, and our business-friendly environment. But growth needs power. McAllen's future depends on a modern, reliable grid, one that expands as we grow.
We're a developer and a real estate company. We specialize in doing industrial parks and refrigerated warehouse space for the produce industry. We see the reliability of the power grid as absolutely critical. We'll do the streets, the sidewalks, sewer, water, storm, but then when it comes to power, there's limitations. For example, the amount of substations that we have in McAllen is limited, and we're nearing the edge of being at maximum capacity.
Supporting AEP's 345 kilovolt projects means fewer shortages, stronger reliability, and the energy that we need to keep our economy moving.
We have faced challenges regarding the RFPs that we're working on. When we don't have enough power, we have to reject the projects. So having enough power in South McAllen is very important for us to attract industry to the region. I love that the city, that AEP are moving forward, they're thinking ahead, and they're making the solutions before we have a problem. So having an additional substation in McAllen is going to solve a problem that we don't have right now, but we will have in the future. We don't do it today.
And it's going to take more than just that. Texas's 765 kilovolt line must reach McAllen and not just stop in Corpus. It's what will power our future, bring new investment, and keep us competitive for years to come.
I'm very grateful that the city mayor and the commissioners are taking the steps forward to solving future needs today. And having a reliable substation is going to help every citizen of McAllen to have secure access to power now and in the future.
So let's work together. Let's make sure that the energy that powers Texas reaches McAllen and the Rio Grande Valley.
McAllen, Texas. The border advantage, the global opportunity. McAllen EDC.
Any questions? Or?
I don't have a question other than whether AP is being reactive or proactive or whatever it is. I know there's a need. We definitely know there's a need. And then I've always said that we get elected to make the decisions, the tough decisions when they have to be made. And sometimes I know we're going to anger some people, but at the very end, we're here to serve the masses. And we got to do what's necessary. I understand what Tony wants. We all do. But
we have one final question.
Let's try and push, and let's try and see what we can do. At the very end, we know we got to do what we got to do.
Well, I was going to say, this was a learning opportunity for us as well. And we're looking at ourselves as, what else could we have done differently? We could be doing more outreach with the residents nearby before we get to this phase, right? So we're looking at that for future substations if we get into this situation. So there's a lot of learning opportunities that we've I think a lot of good came out.
In terms of the EDC team, and this is something that ICE has tasked us with, is to stay on top of this conversation so that you all feel that you're at the table having that conversation at the statewide level. It's the same thing when you're looking at any program that the state oversees. There's always room for planning documents that go into effect, funding opportunities, public notice, public comment, and that's what we all want. We want the best for what's our community.
We want options.
Exactly.
We want options, and that's the technical side of it, the need side of it, and the technical side of it, and we can get it together. There's land out there. I know that there's land. There's opportunities. There's land, and we can make it work.
The site that we're contemplating, or that you're contemplating now, is going to benefit more residents or industrial? Percentage-wise, or roughly? Between 0 and 100. Of that, which one's going to be
How
the
many
residents?
residents?
That's all I wanted. Thanks. Okay.
Questions?
No questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And, well, I don't think we have time for executive.
This concludes the workshop of the McAllen City Commission. Workshops are held on the second and fourth Monday of each month at 4 p.m. in the City Commission Chamber, located on the third floor of McAllen City Hall. The public is always welcome to attend or view online. Thank you for staying informed and engaged with the City of McAllen.